Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Jolene's Book and Writers Talk. We had to skip a week because of Hurricane Idalia, so sorry about that. But this week we have with us Miss Sharon Brubaker. She is an award-winning author. Sharon grew up in central Pennsylvania, surrounded by the beautiful mountains in Blair County. Writing has been a lifelong passion. She started out scribbling stories in second grade and hasn't stopped since. She has earned a bachelor's and master's of science in education. She is an award-winning novelist, a national award-winning, now retired librarian, and the author of several educational publications. She is also an avid gardener and jewelry artist. Sharon is a mystery writer. Her stories have a touch of romance, magic, and are inspired by real locations. Her Green Man series is set in a fictionalized version of the Chesapeake Bay and was influenced by a prose piece written many years ago. The Between Earth and Sea is a steamy romance set in Brigantine, New Jersey. The first in the series, The Tides of Blue, was influenced by wandering beaches, searching for Seaglass and daydream. For Sharon, writing is like breathing. She says she has more stories in her head to write down than a lifetime to live. Please welcome
My
Sharon
name is
Brubaker.
Sharon Brubaker, and I'm an author from northeastern part of Maryland. And most of my books are set in that area, but I grew up in central Pennsylvania in the hills, rocks and rills near Blair County, Pennsylvania. And it's a beautiful area. But I've moved down to Maryland now, and I live a few hundred yards from the Chesapeake Bay, which I absolutely love. My book, Tides of Blue, is set in this area and a little further south on the Chesapeake Bay. And I have a forthcoming series, the Green Man series, that also takes place in this area. So my steamy paranormal romance takes place in Brigantine, New Jersey. Part of the proceeds of that go to the Marine Mammals Training Center. And that book is about a selkie, but talk lots about the different books.
Tides of Blue is more of what kind of genre?
It's a PG romance. It's a historical romance. The story starts out in 1860. I'm a Seaglasser. When I moved to this area, I think I've always loved sea glass, but when I moved to this area around the bay, I would walk down on the beach and I would pick up pieces of glass. I also make jewelry, so I was using that in my jewelry. Glass in it. And every time I picked up the sea glass, I kept wondering about the stories. And being a writer, when you pick up a piece of sea glass, you're picking up a piece of history. And you wonder, like, who touched that glass? What was that glass from? It was an object that somehow ended up in the water and on the shores. The story takes place, it starts out on the Sassafras River, which is further south on the Chesapeake Bay. A cobalt blue poison bottle goes, and you can imagine what happens with a poison bottle, goes into the Sassafras River and floats out to the bay and breaks up, and what happens when the people pick up the shards. It starts out in 1860 with two main characters, and then when a woman in the current day picks and a young man pick up the shards, how that touches their lives, and you see some connections within the story. And it is a romance. And I just finished Currents of Blue, which is the sequel to this. Same bottle, same poison bottle, different shards. That book takes place in 1918 and 1969. So lots of great research with that, lots of fun. Lots more exploring along the Chesapeake, because that one takes place in Baltimore and Colchester, Maryland, and Carpenter's Point, I believe. Whenever the second book gets published, I'll have a map with the different characters and where they live, and I like book maps. I love to go visit where books take place, and I've done this with my kids and my family. We read a book. If it was within our means, we would go visit the area where the book took place. Like Elizabeth George Spear wrote The Witch of Black River. It's an adult book that took place in Wethersfield, Connecticut. Or we visited, I was a former children's librarian, so Tommy DePaola, author and illustrator, we went to his house in Connecticut on a trip. So, we would travel around. Misty Chincoteague, obviously that's in this area. Lots of fun to visit books. I like to have maps, and my other book series that's coming out, my graphics coordinator made a lovely book map where you can actually take a tour through the book, like see the snippet of the book and go visit the places. So it's lots of fun.
Tell us a little bit more about your cause. Mammal stranding seems to be becoming more and more prevalent with changes in climate and our sea levels and that sort of stuff. So the organization you're supporting is?
Marine Mammal Stranding Center out of Brigantine, New Jersey. I mean, there are a lot of stranding centers around the United States, but this book takes place in Brigantine when a seal woman, so she's a seal on the water and a woman on land, comes ashore, and she basically learns how to be human. She meets a young man. It's very steamy, so there's a lot of sex in it, but it is not quite Pygmalion because I wanted to stay away from that. But the Marine Mammal Stranding Center comes into play, and I think they're a very vital organization. They're the only ones in the state of New Jersey that take care of any of the strandings. They take care of a lot of sea turtles. There was a whale that was just washed up recently in Jersey, and seals, of course. And you can get online at mmsc.org. They give updates and get on their Facebook and Instagram, like when they have patients, which is mostly throughout the winter, like November, I guess June. They'll give updates and tours of the center and give you updates on the seals. Sheila Dean is the director, and she's phenomenal. I've been able to meet her briefly and go down and visit in Brigantine. I would like that to be a series, hoping to go to Long Island this fall to see seals. I have a Seaglass jewelry artist friend that lives up there and invited me to come see the seals on Long Island because apparently there's a huge influx of seals in the Long Island area. I'm going to go explore. I can't wait.
Seals and sea lions, think of California, Oregon, and Washington. You don't think of the East Coast as much.
And the Selkie tale is, I believe it's really universal. I mean, you hear a lot of it from the Celtic lore and legends, mostly Scotland and Ireland. There are versions of Selkies all over the world. Like mermaids. I just started a mermaid story.
You're going to Scotland, I saw on your website. What's that all about? Just for fun or research or both?
Both. My son is 30. He has been saving for 3 years to take me to Scotland, which is very touching. But also, my dad was a Highland bagpiper for the shrine in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And he and my mom took a 2-week, one of those, if it's Tuesday, you're in another city kind of tour of Scotland. And my parents were both amateur painters. So my dad did a whole series of oil paintings of Scotland. So my son James wants us to go and to visit all the places where his grandparents were. I get all teary when I start thinking about that, but it is so cool. Plus, my maiden name is Angus, so we're hoping to go see where our clan is from and go Seaglassing. I'm active on the International Seaglass Facebook social media group, so I'm hoping to meet some Seaglass friends, go glassing, and I'm also researching for 2 books, actually, A Scottish Mermaid, because I found out that Scottish mermaids are shapeshifters in New York on Lynn, which is a really cool fact. I just learned this last week, so it fits into my story perfectly. And I'm also working on, it's a historical novel that takes place around the Revolutionary times with the deer goddess Ellen of the Ways. She's Norse, but also Scottish. So that's pretty exciting.
I know you're on TikTok. Do you follow the Scottish authors on TikTok?
I haven't yet. I need to explore. I'm kind of new to TikTok. I was reading more about, authors getting onto Book Talk and what a great place it is to advertise your books. So I'm just starting out, and my daughter is on it all the time. So she's been teaching me, and her other girlfriend has been teaching me a lot. So I'm learning and exploring with TikTok, and I've had a lot of fun putting together some little book trailers and things like that. So,
do you wire wrap them? You see glass?
No, I solder. I do a solder and prong set of Seaglass.
They love that on TikTok. They want to know authors as people who have hobbies. I follow several of the Scottish authors on there, and they seem to be very sweet people. Sometimes a little difficult to understand, but there's a couple on there that give Scottish words a day videos. Those are fun.
We've actually been trying to watch. I'm a BritBox fan, and trying to listen to a lot of the British television shows. And I've been looking for some Scottish podcasts and things, but most of the people hosting the podcasts are refined, and I want to hear the real language. So TikTok's a great venue. Thank you. We've been seeking something like that. So we just get our ear prepared when we go to Scotland.
The next part we usually ask is a couple of questions about what's happening in publishing these days and how you've been handling certain things. So first up, have you heard about the AI uproar and writers, and what are your feelings about it?
I have heard about it. I have concerns about it. Being a librarian by trade, the copyright issues and all of that are rearing their ugly head. I don't know if I'm as knowledgeable as I'd like to be to speak on it a lot, but I am very concerned about AI taking over the universe. And that's coming from a Trekkie. I mean, we're Trekkies in my family. So, I'm all for technology and science and AI, but I don't want them taking over my words. And I see that a little bit whenever we use some of our online, like Grammarly and things and Pro Writer 8, and you see even just that little bit now they want to take over that writing. But I'm not happy about that taking over the publishing industry. It's a scary world. I started out self-publishing a couple of books, and I did that because I was sending out my manuscript. They wanted you to send one query letter and a piece of your book to one agent at a time, and it would take 6 months or more to get back. After 4 years of my book, and I had some lovely rejections, I mean some nice personal notes and things, but it wasn't right at that time, which I understand that. I decided to self-publish, but that's a whole other, could be a nightmare in itself. And then about 2 years ago, I was picked up by a small publisher. She's worked with me to publish my books, which is exciting. Small press, I guess micro press. I mean, the lingo changes all the time. And then I finished the second book in the Seaglass series, and she told me she was folding for personal reasons. So now I'm back in my same boat. What do I do? Now, when I was at Penn Writers Conference in May, I met with agents. I was trying to go around and find a literary agent. And the one agent said, "Why are you doing this? You have a publisher, you can self-publish." She was pretty much steering me away of going with trying to find an agent and get with a big publisher. I'm kind of lost. I'm not sure what to do. I think I'll be self-publishing Tides of Blue. It's doing pretty well. It just won the award. It's out for a couple of other awards. I just finished the sequel, so I'll probably self-publish those two. I don't know what to do about the selfie book. I'll be getting my rights back from my small publisher, but I have a 5-book romantic suspense series that's now back in limbo, and I'm not sure what to do. So when I was at Penn Writers, the advice from different agents was and a couple of publishers, have 3 things prepared when you go pitch to an agent. So if they don't like one thing, you have 2 other manuscripts ready to go. And I'm like, 3 more books? Just like, when can I sleep? I get up at 3 a.m. to write. That's my quiet time. And I work till a little after 5. And then I leave the house at 6 to go to work. And I get back around 5, 6 at night. And I write, dinner quickly. And then I write until 9. And then I pass out. And then we start all over again. And then some days when the book is really pounding, I tell my family I'm invisible. Do not talk to me. I need a writing day. And they're quite happy because they know if I don't write, they're like, "You get on the broom, Sharon. So please go write." And then I'll write for 10 hours straight. But it's such a funny thing. I mean, there's what, 3 million books being published a year now or some crazy number like that. Everyone's writing a book, which is wonderful. I mean, whenever I give talks, I say, people say, "I want to write a book." I'm like, do it, do it, do it. We are so fortunate to live in this technological age where we can produce. We can go with a big 5 if we want to go that route. We can self-publish. We can do Vella. We can do the serializations very popular. Vella is just one of the many out there now. There are just so many venues to publish however you want, whether it's, poetry or short story or novels or graphic novels. We're so fortunate that your publishing dreams can come true, but it is a lot of work and we just have to find the right niche. Since my news about my publisher folding is pretty recent, I'm really in a quandary and I don't know what to do yet. Thought I'd get the 2 Seaglass books out with self-publishing, go from there.
A lot of it will have to do with the time. When are they going to release the rights to you? And are they going to contact every place that you're published to have those books pulled? Because you're going to need a new ISBN for each book and probably a new cover if they were created by the publisher.
Right.
But you're going to have to redo your copyright page on the inside with a new ISBN, which would be you.
My publisher is wonderful, and she's folding the company for some very valid personal reasons. But she met with myself and one of the other authors and coaching us through all of this. We had about a 4-hour meeting on Sunday. We learned how to get new ISBNs, slowly learning how much work it is to publish and self-publish. And there's a lot to it.
I am willing to walk you through. And if you have any funds left, you can just, send me some coffee money or whatever. Decide that's what you want to do and say, "I'm doing this. This is me. I'm going to do it." I'll be glad to walk because I've done it. I've published 20 different books for 5 different people and helped them walk it through. I don't claim any of the royalties because that's not me. I just like my fee. But I want to see you helped and I want you to feel comfortable so that you are taking control of your book business.
Great thing about self-publishing, you have control. It's just it's a wonderful thing with self-publishing. In fact, that was very difficult for me after I'd self-published 3 books, and then we pulled them, and I went with my publisher. And I know when we were getting covers for the romantic suspense one, she liked one cover, I didn't like it. Even for my steamy paranormal, at first I wasn't really sure about the cover. She absolutely loved it. To me, it wasn't what it was part of the book, but it worked. I mean, that's what steamy paranormal is very hot right now, and people really like the cover. So I had to take a step back and really do some soul searching about this. Like, is this what I want to do, or do I want to go self-publish and do my own thing? But you do have to look at some of the markets and learn more about marketing and what's out there.
You've got to start. You're on TikTok now. You just need to be a little bit more involved and active in that and be consistent in your posting, even if it's just, I'm drinking my coffee, and you take a picture of your coffee and you put in a quote, say, okay, that's me for today. I got to go write. You're done. Then come back the next day and do the same thing.
And that's what I've been told. Like my publisher, I know she tries to get out 1 or 2 a day, and it's for her own books. She's written 20 books. So yes, I need to get more active on TikTok.
To me, it doesn't matter which one you choose. Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, whichever ones that you want to devote your time to, that you enjoy. If you enjoy interaction with other people, TikTok. If you just want to send stuff out and maybe get a couple of comments every now and then, Instagram may be your place. If you enjoy creating storyboards about your books and sharing those with other people, you can also create a board just about you and your books. That's a way to reach people. I got 6,000 or 7,000 viewers. I get a lot of views that way. Not as much followers as I'd like, but YouTube right now they love the short form videos. They have a tab for podcasts, and they have a space to create what's called a community where you could post quizzes, images, and several different things and schedule them out. Any place that allows you to schedule is great. For TikTok, if you're uploading them using your computer, you can schedule. The formula usually is, if you can, schedule out a week's worth and then every day go in and do something fun. One of the AIs or the faces, or throw up a picture and put a quote up there and add some music to it. They have pictures now too. And I've used that a couple times, and I have 3 different accounts with them. 2 are business and 1 I turned over to personal again because I wanted more music choices. I wanted rock and roll to go with my music choices. So, there's different ways that authors can make money. This year, I'm trying a Shopify store just because I'm doing a pen name for my fiction writer. So I created a Shopify store for her and started creating steampunk themed merchandise with quotes from books that I've read and sayings that I've found. And I'm on Canva a lot creating designs for that. Not only am I selling my books and my writing, kind of like merchandise. I saw on your website that you're a member of Sisters in Crimes. That's the national group, of course. They don't have the Sisters in Crimes in Maryland.
There is a local-ish group, nothing like really close driving distance for me. I just haven't taken the time to get there.
Okay.
I also joined the Maryland Romance Writers. They broke away from RWA when that whole thing blew up a few years ago. And I've been part of that. So I've been trying to reach out more to some of those groups and pen writers. A friend of mine, a writer friend, gave me a gift of a membership to pen writers, and I went to the conference in May. And next year it'll be in Lancaster, which is much closer to me. It was in Pittsburgh this last year. They do it. And that's a great organization too. And those outside of Pennsylvania, we have our own little pocket. I think my leaders, and she's in North Carolina or Florida, I can't remember which, but we meet, they have a Zoom meeting and critique meeting too. So trying to reach out and starting to network with some of this as we
Yes,
move through.
Zoom has been tremendous for writers to keep in touch. And I am encouraging all groups to continue Zooming their meetings and their workshops so that writers like me, who live in the middle of nowhere, can still enjoy a connection and education. It doesn't cost you anything to do a Zoom session in a library, as you know. They have their own internet services, almost every one of them, that are much better than mine, I think.
I retired from being a school librarian in 2017, but I've been involved in libraries since I've been 4 years old. I'm a bibliomaniac. So I love absolutely everything about books and everything about books. You know, my parents, instead of hiring a babysitter, they dropped me off at the library or at the bookstore and leave me there because I was quite happy. And then I wanted to go to college. My dream was to go to University of Pittsburgh, and I love Latin. I wanted to get a bachelor's in Latin and a master's in library science, but my family was like, "You'll never do anything with Latin." And I wanted to work with Fred Rogers at that time. My parents were like, "Oh no, Pittsburgh's the big bad city." So, and they said, "You really need to go into librarianship." So I did, and I've been in school in public libraries all my life. So that's where that comes from. And I still every single day. But I have a lot of books around, so I have my own library at home. And there's something very comforting about having a lot of books.
The other thing that I'm doing is encouraging families of deceased authors to republish their books.
There's a renaissance of short stories now, I believe.
Yes, the First Coast Romance Writers Romancing the Tropics was just published. There, I'm so excited.
Oh, that's great. I have to get it.
They're doing two more this year. One is the Autumn Embrace. It was steamy romance. The second one is another winter for, I think it's Hanukkah, Christmas, and New Year's. Sweet romance, because most of the writers are sweet. And then next year, if these do well, they'll do sweet, medium, and spicy again next year. Award. Is this your first time entering an award contest?
Well, I won a little bronze award when I was 13 years old for Read Magazine. So for a short story that I have no idea where it's at this point, probably in some box somewhere. Yes, this was very exciting for me to win the NERFA National Excellence in Romantic Fiction Award by First Coast Writers. And I'm so appreciative of it. And especially as a librarian, there are lots of awards out there that you can apply for, but I'm not sure who's judging. I'm not trying to be critical, but the nice thing about NERFA is that it's a really nice vetted crew of people. It's readers, it's bookstore owners, it's librarians, it's all these professionals and people that truly love books and stories. So I'm especially honored to win this award because of that. I think it's been a great thing for me. So I'm very appreciative.
You going to try again next year?
Probably. I think so. Yeah.
You can do it. Drumming them up. I'm saying you got to do it. You got to do it. Get it published this year.
I'm finishing up the edits and then I'll get it out there.
As a writer, although you're kind of new, do you attend any book festivals or any festivals at all where you sell your books?
Yes, I do. Because Tides of Blue is a Seaglass romance, I mean, there's lots of great books about Seaglass and finding Seaglass. And there are a couple of novels with Seaglass in, but not a huge amount. I really wanted Seaglass to be the center of the story. So I attend the Eastern Shore Seaglass Festival down in St. Michael's, Maryland. And I just returned from Mystic, Connecticut. I'm a member of the International Seaglass Association. I volunteered there for years. I started volunteering there thinking I wanted to take my Seaglass jewelry there. And then I realized that you need like 1,000 pieces of jewelry. I couldn't make 1,000 pieces of jewelry in a year. I was teaching full time. So I decided not. Still, I had fun. I mean, I had such a great time. The International Seaglass Association community is just a phenomenal group of people. So I have done that. And I've done a lot of local festivals. My books are represented in a local gift shop in town here in Northeast Maryland and also in Cecil County at the gallery. I'm looking at other independent bookstores. I have some book signings coming up. I have one in Rehoboth, Delaware this weekend, one coming up at Cupboard Maker Books in Enola, Pennsylvania, which is such a cool bookstore. Look them up on TikTok. They have cats and they rescue cats. And Michelle, and I'm blanking out on her last name. I'm sorry, Michelle, if you watch this, but it's just a fabulous bookstore. She has some new books, but a lot of used books. If you love books, I'd say travel to Pennsylvania there. I mean, Pennsylvania, where I'm from, and I don't know, I haven't explored. I know there are other independent bookstores, but they have a great organization where they're supporting these indie booksellers. I know there's some great ones in Maryland for mysteries I was looking at too whenever my romantic suspense comes out. And my friend Linda Roller has an Airbnb in her used bookstore in Avis, Pennsylvania. So that is phenomenal. I went up to help an aging aunt and we found this Airbnb where you get 24/7 access to the bookstore. It's great for anybody who can just wander out if you can't sleep at 2 a.m. Thank you, menopause, very much. And wander around and read books all night.
Do you sell your Seaglass creations online? And if so, which one?
I have not yet. I have sold some of my jewelry. I used to have an art show at my home and then have a gift shop in town where I've sold some things. and I have to get back into jewelry making because I have had a lot of requests in getting there. If you go to my website, under the Pinterest button at the top, you can see some of my jewelry. I'll be working on more because I'm learning to explore. I teach a Seaglass and silver class at the local community college, how to basic soldering skills. And it's soldering and prong setting, but we do some wire wrapping. We just play around with it. So my glass comes from a few hundred yards from my house. There's a small beach that's mostly rock, just a very small beach, probably like 2 couches in length, where Seaglass, the beach glass, comes up. Go figure. And I try to go to a lot of the Chesapeake Bay beaches. Sea glassing has just become a passion of mine. So that's one of the things I'm hoping to do when I go to Scotland. One of the things I learned from someone that just visited, they have a lot of sea pottery there, which we can talk about more history. How many people have eaten off this plate and you have this little tiny piece of pottery? It's just a fun. Puerto Rico's on my bucket list to visit for Seaglass. I have jewelry friends that they go down and they fill up their knapsacks and suitcases with glass and then come back and they make jewelry all year and then they sell it at festivals. And I know I need to be careful in Scotland. I know that there are some rules there. I know Italy is pretty strict about it. I have a glassing friend that was wanting to do sea glass tours around the world, take people around to different beaches and go glassing and local history and things like that. And it was just getting pretty complicated with exactly what you're saying, with the tax and customs.
With all the pollution in the oceans, a little glass on the beach, getting rid of it should be a good thing. The last question I'm going to start asking authors, especially in lieu of all the changes that are happening. Would you or are you selling your own books on your own website?
Not yet.
Now, would you consider doing it in the future?
Yes, and my website guru marketing people, they have offered to set up an e-commerce site for me. I haven't made that leap yet. Micro publisher is folded. I have a lot of decisions to make in the next few months as I get my rights back for my mystery series and to see what else is coming out of my fingers and in my brain and my typewriter, my laptop, and to see what to do with those books that are coming out. I have a lot of decisions to make.
All right. Is there anything that you would like to share with the listeners about you or your books in the next couple of weeks?
I'm very grateful to NERFA, First Coast Writers, for the NERFA award. I just finished Currents of Blue, the sequel to Tide, so that should hopefully get that to the editor. It will be edited by my professional editor in September while I'm in Scotland. Fingers crossed, we'll get it out by the holidays, and that one will be self-published. So you can keep an eye on my website, www.sharon-brubaker.com, for news on that. And then hopefully we'll have lots more books coming out in 2024. We'll be making some decisions, and I have a 5-book romantic suspense series coming, and I have another steamy novel to write and get out. So I say my brain is kind of like Dumbledore's pensieve. I would just keep pulling instead of memories, I pull books out, and that's what happened. I have more books in my head than I have lifetimes to live. There are just hundreds up there, so I just need time to sit down and get them all out, and they're a lot of fun. It brings me joy. Writing brings me joy. So it's wonderful. It's a wonderful problem to have. You're never bored. And it's great to people watch. I mean, people always say, that there's one of those t-shirts, careful, you might end up in your novel. And I don't think I've ever copied a person. I might copy a glance or an expression or the way they say something or a piece of clothing, but I've never copied a whole person. But I love to eavesdrop at restaurants. I love to hear people's stories. It's just great.
Yes, we are definitely people observers and waste a lot of time sitting there pretending to read and watching other people.
And it's so much fun.
All right, Miss Sharon, thank you so much for being a part of my podcast, and I wish you safe travel.
Thank you very much. Thank